Hey, Carrie.
Yeah, it's going.
Good. I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I went with a simpler setup this time. We're gonna have to do something different. I think the microphones were nice, but you had to get like really close, right?
Yeah.
To you. And that's just not gonna work
Mm,
in the future.
got it. Got
I thought this setup's that great because when I switch my screen to look at something else,
Can you still see
like
us or still see me or hear me? You switch?
so I got a projector set up here,
Yeah.
and I'm just mirroring. So if I look at something else on my computer, the people here are looking at that.
Oh, so if you pull up the chat, they'll be able to see it.
And it's more like if I'm gonna like switch to present something, right? Like that switch is
Mhm.
like my desktop or whatever.
Gotcha. Make sure you don't have anything, no embarrassing pictures.
I hope not, but it is. This is my work computer. Don't tell anybody.
Secret safe with me and everyone who's tuned into Facebook Live already.
Oh no, I'm not on Facebook Live yet.
Okay. Okay. FYI, I never got the minutes from last month up. My bad. I just have to go back and do some of the cleanup on things that I missed live time. And so
Mm.
I will not have minutes for this meeting or to present this meeting.
Wait, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. So now I have the Zoom projected. Like, I don't know if I can see things though.
Like, can you see the chat if we chatted you?
Yeah, it's like the quality though, because it's so big. Like, oh yeah, I can't see that. Oh, but I can move the chat. Wait, I can move the chat box over here. Aha! Now I can see it. Okay.
Good.
Full screen. And Shannon said she was going to join me in person this time, which would be good feedback.
Oh, good.
Used to experience what this is like. Although we've
Yeah.
only had one person show up recently.
I will say it's easier for me taking notes to be virtual because I'm like connected to my Wi-Fi here. I can see everyone's name on the Zoom easily. Doesn't matter. Guess I could do that in person too.
Crazy. Need to add in the polls.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna go down and see if my husband's done with dinner so I can sneak a meal real quick. I'll be back.
Hey there.
Oh, a different. I'm actually have a 2 monitor setup basically, so we'll see how this goes. So the zoom, because I realized what I was doing was I was mirroring the display. So if I so here if I switch something on my computer to like pull up something, the people here aren't looking at the zoom anymore. They're looking at like my desktop or whatever. So see how that works. Because now I got it's like over there. Obviously, like I'm looking at you on the projector over there.
Yeah. Fun stuff. You always keep working on making it better. Good.
Well, I mean, the big thing is like Zoom participants be able to hear what's going on and see what's going on in the room. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work.
That's going to be a tough one. I think it'll just encourage people probably to be in person as more people show up to the meetings. Oh, I didn't. I worked at Soccer Village though.
Oh, I was like, I did. And I was like, that logo looks familiar.
Yeah, I worked at Soccer Village where we made all this stuff. And when they have their like big warehouse sales, you know, we got like discounts on stuff.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
I did play soccer growing up, just not for like club. I just played for say.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I still have some of the electrical tape I bought for my shin guards.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Funny. I found my soccer bag the other day. It had like all my shin guards, like my cleats in it. I was like, ugh, this needs to be thrown away.
I know. I was a goalkeeper, so I still have like my gloves and my, jersey and stuff. And I'm like, I'm really not gonna play, but if I ever want to, like, I'm not gonna shell out any money for this. So
right. I did keep my shoes because they were like the kangaroo leather, like they're pretty nice. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know that any life is left in them or if I could bring them back to life.
Probably doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah, but I don't know. I kept them because I felt kind of sentimental about it, I guess.
That's awesome.
Couldn't justify throwing them away. I also did keep the shin guards because those were bought like fairly new shin guards towards the end of my career.
Yeah.
I probably could donate that.
I know, my stuff's still usable too.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't see that your message went directly to me. So Carrie's probably like, what the heck are they even talking about?
It's fine.
I'm gonna go live on Facebook.
All right. I'll shut up now.
All right, should be launching.
Yep, I see this.
All right, hello everyone at home. I'm going to double check here, make sure we have a quorum first before we get started. For those who are at home on Facebook or on Zoom, you're welcome to come down to the Sunny Kin Room in Massville Rec Center if you'd like to join us. Got 3 other folks here with me as well.
All right, buddy, be safe.
All right, so we do have a quorum, so I can call this meeting to order. I'm already seeing people in the chat who are on Zoom, announcing how many people are there with, which is great for our records, for members, for attendance. So thank you for doing that. And yes, Joan, I see that you are in. Amanda, real quick, can you go over like the rules and how this is going to function real quick?
Sure thing. So as Carrie mentioned, we are live streaming on Facebook. So those of you that are joining us via Facebook, welcome. Just a few housekeeping items. So you know there's a bit of a delay in between Zoom and Facebook. So just note that. And if you utilize the comments on our live stream to ask any questions, I will be monitoring that and either try to answer them directly by writing back, or if I'm not able to answer the question, I'll present it to the group here. Just know that we're on a bit of a delay, so we might have to like come back to it, but we'll try to get to all the questions out there on Facebook. If you're in Zoom, there's a few different features we have that we'd like you guys to use. The first one is the Q&A feature. So that's down in the bottom of your toolbar on Zoom. And if you click that button, you should be able to, if you're an attendee, write a question and that'll kind of submit it to a queue of questions. We do ask that you utilize that over the chat feature, just because the chat is kind of hard to manage and it kind of just keeps going and going. So if you have a question, throw it in the Q&A. Even if it's not necessarily relevant to what we're talking about, we can always circle back to it. And again, using the Q&A kind of allows us to do that. If you prefer to just ask your question though yourself rather than typing it out, feel free to use the raise hand feature. Again, in the bottom of your toolbar in Zoom, you should be able to raise your hand and Carrie will be able to take you off mute when it's appropriate and you can ask your question, or if you just have a comment or a statement you'd like to make, you can do that as well. I think that covers it.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Real quick, if everyone please don't mind joining me in a moment of silence. Okay, as you may have heard, we have an American flag. So if you don't mind joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. In our meeting documents online, we have the treasurer's report, the monthly treasurer's report. If there are no objections, we'll go ahead and approve that for filing. All right, we'll jump right into our agenda with Officer Al Brown from District 2 of the Cincinnati Police Department. Officer Brown, are you there? Can you
Yes,
hear?
I am. I'm here. How's everybody doing? Hello?
Good, good. I got you.
Oh, okay.
I just did. I accidentally did disconnect. Oh, no, all right, what did I hit? I think I broke it. Hold on a second here. Amanda, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, did Officer Brown drop off?
No. Can you hear me?
Oh, go ahead.
How's everybody doing? Good. Good. So before we get started, I'm Officer Brown, the NLU officer from Madisonville and Linwood. I'll start off by giving you my number. That number is 513-979-4429. So reporting the last 28 rolling days from 3/22/22 to 4/18/22. We had one robbery in the 4200 block of Plainville. We had one B&E in the 5500 block of Madison Road. And we had a felonious assault in the 4300 block of Erie Avenue. I actually attempted to look that up before this meeting. Unfortunately, like the system was not cooperating with me. So I'll dig into that and maybe pass it on at the next meeting. So just real quick, if we can get the word out somehow. So 561, oh shoot, I had a brain fart, but if we can get the word out, once you can send a complaint in, reference a overtime parker, abandoned vehicle, junk vehicle, whatever. For some reason, we're getting an overabundance of repeat complaints for the same vehicles. And some of them has been from the same car and the same person. Once those are generated into a SR complaint, then they come to the district and they're disseminated for the officer in that beat, and that would be me from Madisonville. So I'm a one-man band, and sometimes there's a process that we have to follow. We have to mark the ground first. Back in the old day, we used to mark the tires, but now we can't do that per law. So we actually mark the car to make sure that it hasn't moved once we receive the complaint. And there's just a process that we have to follow. And I just ask everybody to be patient. Like I have a ton of them. They're coming in as our community improves and things are getting better for Madisonville. Those complaints are coming, which I don't mind them, but I just ask for some patience and help me to and let me get them resolved for you.
All right, that's great. Are there any questions for Officer Brown? Okay.
I have one quick question. So,
Okay, go ahead.
and I don't know if I'm missing something here. The neighborhood cleanup from Madisonville. Can anybody give me a date as to when?
Say that one more time.
The neighborhood cleanup from Madisonville. Can somebody give me a date and time?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our cleanups it's every month on, I think, the second Saturday. We organize cleanups. We meet at Bramble Park, and they're from about 9:30 is when we meet, and usually run till about 12:30.
Okay. Because I'm going to see how this works. Let me ask you this: do you see a need to have police presence there?
No, I don't think that would be necessary. Usually, we're in, we're not in the street. We're on maybe the sidewalk, cleaning up. It kind of varies month to month based on what's going on.
Okay, so I would just suggest this: if you're ever going to hit a part of the neighborhood where you think traffic can be an issue, if you give me a heads up prior to, I can make sure that I get the word out that we need some police presence there while you guys are cleaning up, just so things stay safe. Because I had conversation with someone in reference to possibly cleaning up parts of Kenwood Road, and as you know, that there's a lot of winds and twists there. So if that happens, if you designate that as being one of your spots, we like to be able to get out there and support you so no one gets run over.
All right, yeah, sounds great. I'll pass that along. We'll make sure beautification committee is aware, and that gives us a lot of options in the future. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Got one more question for you here in the audience.
I don't know if I need to get in front of the camera. Hi, Officer Brown. This is Shannon Solomon. Hi. I just wanted to find out if there were any updates from the traffic initiative. I know that you gave an update on that at our meeting last month, and just wanted to find out, were there any updates on how everything went with that?
So we haven't got any final tally numbers or anything like that, but it went on for a period, and I guess that period's over with, but I will still tell you to spread the word, simply because we're still trying to make Madisonville the safest community. So, the traffic infractions will be enforced. So even though that time span may have already expired, we'll still be out just, watching over the speeders and people that are not obeying the traffic signs. Because I know that traffic sign right there at Chandler and Wetzel, I don't think we've gotten quite used to that being there yet. I mean, Wetzel and Chandler. So, I try to sit there and slow them down. And, so it'll be a process for people to get used to that, because they're so used to just being able to go right through that intersection without stopping. So.
All right, yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that was District 2. A lot of the other districts as well have been trying to have an initiative to kind of bring attention to speeding and reckless driving in a lot of neighborhoods. Yeah, you got a question here as well?
Yeah, I live on East Ledge side.
East Ledge, yep.
Yeah, I want to complain. I'm going to complain. Get off from Mexico, right to it. The buses now is 11, 12, and 28. One bus will be in a circle, then all three of them will be out, and it's making it's actually going to happen because you got cars coming down. So when us turning right, trying to go up, you got to try to veer between the buses and the cars.
Okay, that's more, yeah. So the concern is that the car, but your question is about the sort of buses parking on Kenwood?
No, like screwed up, because back in the day, all the buses was in a circle.
Right, and right now they stop and they have the dwell time on Kenwood Road, park there at the bus stop.
And then you got cars coming down to Kenwood Road this way.
Going ahead.
You got cars making right, and you got the bus right here. And you got streets to go that way.
Right. Okay. I can talk to Sorta about that.
I was wondering, they don't use the circle because there was only one bus in the circle. I said, well, they're not using, so I'm just saying if they scoop up and be mindful that there's traffic coming. It's gonna be an accident.
Yeah, Mr. Poole, you got a question for Officer Brown?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
On Wetzel, put the new apartments in. A lot of those are not parking in the complex, they're parking on Wetzel, and then cars parking on the other side. And then you gotta wait, you're gonna have a wreck there before you get from Madison to the stop sign.
Which side of Wetzel? North of Madison, like this side?
The side where the apartments, the new apartments on Wetzel,
Yeah, which side?
they're parking on both sides.
Yeah, but like which side of Madison? You talking about Wetzel north of Madison?
Madison, Wetzel going towards Kenwood. Right down here. Larryville?
For the oil field?
No.
Here we go. I got a map here.
It's Madison. Madison Road.
Yep. Mhm.
Come this way.
Okay, heading north.
Stewart.
Oh, Stewart. Okay, yeah, Stewart. Okay.
Madison, Stewart, the apartment building where they built a lot of.
Right, and so they have parking on both sides of Stewart, and it's causing like kind of like yeah. So
we're gonna be a wreck there.
So I've already talked. That's not the police department. That's Department of Transportation. And we've already had this conversation with some residents on Stewart, and what it would take is for the residents of Stewart to basically have a petition to restrict parking to one side of the street.
Make it a fire lane?
No, because I think it's still compliant. It's compliant with fire. Yeah.
But that's still unfair for the residents then there on Stewart. For all these years, now you're gonna limit their parking in front of their own homes.
That's why you have to have the residents of Stewart have to agree to it. That's why the city's not going to make any changes to the street unless there is a consensus from the residents on the street. So, when it comes to moving signage, like the city is generally pretty game for that. Like if you've seen with the stop signs recently, but we have to have, when it comes to restricting on-street parking for a road like Stewart, yeah, we would need a consensus from those residents on that street if they would be okay with that.
They should have paid attention to how enough parking inside the complex and not be on the street.
Right.
And that, again, if the city didn't do their job and make sure it had a parking survey and enough room, shouldn't have let them build it that big. And we went active.
Right. That's yeah.
So
That's
And then they're affecting the residents back here all these years that have parking in front of their house. Some of them don't have driveways. It's not fair that you're gonna jam everybody up on one side.
Right.
Because the apartment complex was built because they didn't have sufficient amount of parking. That's not fair. It's not fair for the residents out here. And the residents paying the property tax. Those people in the apartment complex ain't gotta pay nothing. It's not fair.
so
just make a note when they have a good wreck there. Noted that.
all right. I broke my Zoom client.
Hey, Carrie, I think we have some questions maybe for Officer Brown online here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read the one in the Q&A, and then we've got two people with their hands up. The one in the Q&A for Officer Brown is from Tom and Kim, and they're wondering, are there specific areas where the overtime parkers are being reported that you can share with us?
No, actually, it's just all over Madisonville. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just, and I think for the most part, well, let me say this. It's really no designated area, but you can almost bet if there's new construction or rehabbing going on or property that's going up for sale, if there's some vehicles that's inappropriate, I'm going to usually get a complaint on that. And that's understandable. I mean, if I'm showing a house or I'm trying to sell a house and I got a car sitting out in front of my house that, sitting on a flat or two or all banged up and it hasn't moved in a while, it's not going to help my cause. So I think as we see Madisonville continue to change, I think people want a cleaner environment. I mean, at the end of the day, like it or not, I mean, when people are spending a significant amount of money, they want things to be a certain way, and I get it. But I can't really say that it's any one place. It's kind of like all over Madisonville for me.
Thank you.
Joan, did you have a question for Officer Brown?
Okay, now can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Officer Brown, you were the one that I'm the one that you were talking to about that cleanup on Kenwood.
Yes,
And for those who don't know about this, one of the things I'd like to do on one of our cleanup days is clear the sides of Kenwood from the Kenwood Tower down the hill all the way down, because there's so much trash along the side of those. So I had called Officer Brown to see if the police could help us by shutting traffic down at one end so that people, when they have their cleanup vests on, won't get hit by a car. It's too dangerous for us to go out without a police presence. So Officer Brown, we can, whichever cleanup you want to help us with, we can have that be the day. For instance, Saturday, June 11th is going to be a cleanup. Saturday, July, whatever the date is in July on that second Saturday. So why don't I give you a call and we can just plan a date and we can take it from there.
okay, that sounds like a plan.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And Tom, Kim, I'm assuming, I see your hand is still up, but I'm assuming that was your question that was already answered in the Q&A.
No, I still have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Al, this is Tom here.
Hey, Tom.
On the four-way stop signs that they put up at Chandler and Wetzel,
Yes.
yeah, I noticed it last week when we were out working. I noticed it today on the way home from a previous thing I had going on up in Kenwood.
Okay.
When you're up in, I had a previous engagement in Kenwood this afternoon. So when I came down Kenwood heading south, when you're going north on Wetzel towards Chandler, people are driving right through the stop sign.
Oh,
They don't see it because there's another sign that blocks the stop sign as you're looking on the right-hand side.
okay. Yeah, so I've been sitting there and I've actually stopped a few people just saying, hey, this intersection here is equipped with stop signs. And I never even looked at that, but what I'll do is I'll go out there and I'll take a look at it, and maybe the city needs to come out and readjust something there.
I wrote it up today and sent it in. It looks like it's a green sign. Maybe it says there's a church there or something, but you don't see the stop sign until you're up on top of it. There's one on the left-hand side as you're coming up. The people don't look on the left-hand side. They look at the right-hand side.
Correct.
So just keep that in mind while you're sitting there.
Okay.
And maybe your voice means more than mine. So you might want to say something to the traffic and engineering department.
Yeah, I see that. I see that. That green, yeah, talks about a church. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, good enough. I will bring that to someone's attention. You've already put something in, but I get it.
I did today.
Yeah, and we can hit up transportation as well.
All right,
Sorry,
thanks, Al.
this is heading north on Wetzel.
Heading north on Wetzel.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, great. I think that will call it for Officer Brown. So thank you for joining us. I'm not seeing anybody from the fire department. Nope. All right, we'll move on. I know John P. Parker, they were not able to come in today because they had their Read Across Madisonville event at Artsville. So hopefully everybody, a lot of families were able to enjoy that event. Let's see, we'll go ahead and just go to Terry Barnum from our local library for an update.
Hey, Carrie, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll apologize for any wildlife sounds you might hear sitting on the backyard. Just a few updates. Wanted to let you guys know that the library, we finally hired our new youth services librarian. She started this week, Miss Anna, which means we have preschool or toddler story time that started back up on Wednesdays at 10:30. So definitely encourage people to spread the word, and let's help grow that here in the Madisonville community. We just finished up I Heart Madisonville Day, as you guys all know, which was a pretty big turnout here at the library. I think we had, I looked at the door count, definitely over 200 people just in that morning, early afternoon, which was great. So we had Newport Aquarium out to show some reptiles. We had story time. We had even a produce pop-up courtesy of the Free Store Food Bank. And then we also had Best Point or formerly known as the Children's Home on site to kind of help share their resources with the community. So I appreciate everybody showing up and supporting the Madisonville community and showing out their love. And I wanted to share, if you've been to the library recently, we had quite a few people fill out a part on what they love most about Madisonville. So I wanted to share one of many that we had, and it says, "I love that our community is growing and thriving. I love that we will enjoy a new library, parks, trails, and more." And we had a lot of great other comments about places in Madisonville, and really it came down to the people. I think it's the people here in Madisonville that make this community extra special. So I definitely want to make sure to share those, and definitely stop in and you can read through those if you'd like. Also want to thank the volunteers. I think Stephanie was able to coordinate some volunteers to help out with the I Heart Madisonville Day, and shout out, I see Ann Bolin, who's on the call as well, who came and helped out with the produce pop-up that we had. I think we gave out 50 to 60 meal kits, somewhere around there, but quite a bit, and it was great to be able to help feed the community. We also featured last night local author Richard Haig, hopefully some of you know, with Madisonville Reads, who is a local author and poet. We had a pretty good turnout for being a Wednesday night. I think we had 23 people in attendance. It was great to hear some poetry and prose that were really highlighting his experience and life here in the Madisonville community. I'm hoping to have him again in the future. And then just a reminder that our building project is underway. They've already poured the concrete in our new library that's going in again at phase 3 of the Madison and Wetzel project. So concrete's been poured. I know they're working on electrical and plumbing and looking to get some walls up, I believe at the beginning of next week. So stay tuned. If you happen to walk by the building, you can just kind of peek through the window, really see how big that space is gonna be. So, but that's about it. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'm not seeing any questions. Thank you very much. Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we'll go to a special presenter from the Free Store Food Bank, Sarah Miller.
Hello, hi. Can I go ahead and share my screen?
Be able to.
Okay, great. So let me, for some reason it's not showing up. So share. If I go to,
Oh, I see it now.
okay. Great, thank you. Let me, sorry. So. There we go. Sorry about that. So hi everybody. I'm here from Free Store Food Bank. I'm so glad that I Love Madisonville Day turned out well. I actually talked to David Siders about helping set up that produce pop-up. So I'm glad that worked out. Anyway, I'm actually here from a new program at Free Store Food Bank. It's called Get Covered Ohio. So we help people sign up for health insurance, whether it's Medicaid, marketplace insurance. We can even help some with Medicare. I'm actually here to talk about a couple of things that are of concern coming up in the future, dealing with Medicaid and also like what our group can do to help. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Did it show up? Yes. So I don't know how many people know this, but with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which passed in March 2020, it prevented states from removing Medicaid recipients from the program, just like my slide says. So what that is like, so anybody who had Medicaid in March 2020 and anybody who's gotten it since has been able to keep it without having to necessarily renew it. So the public health emergency actually was supposed to end this last Saturday, but it's actually been, they've moved that date to mid-July. And when that happens, when the end of the public health emergency happens, they will start an unwinding process in Medicaid. So what that means is that they will basically, because people haven't been able to lose their Medicaid, no matter whether they were over income, moved out of state, anything like that, they had to keep they were able to keep their insurance. So with the end of the public health emergency and the unwinding, they'll be sending out renewals to everybody to basically renew their Medicaid. So it's really important. This is the first thing I want to say is it's really, really, really important for people who have Medicaid and even food assistance through our JFS office to get in touch with downtown, and which their straight number is 513-946-1000. But I also added another one here, which is their hotline. But to get in touch with them and make sure that they have the most update information for them. So their address and their phone number. So they make sure everyone makes sure to get their renewal when it's sent out. Anybody that is renewing, they will basically just do the same thing that they usually do every year, which is to look at everything that's going on in the person's life, with their income and their resources and that sort of stuff, and decide whether or not they're still eligible for Medicaid. So what that means is basically, like, if you don't turn your stuff in, you're going to lose Medicaid. If you turn your stuff in, it could be approved. If you're now over income, I know that a lot of wages have changed during the pandemic. You may find yourself over income for Medicaid. So our team, Get Covered Ohio, we're a new team. We actually were around before the pandemic, like in 2020, I think we disbanded and now we're back. But we're here to support people who need help applying for health insurance. So let's say someone finds that they are no longer eligible for Medicaid, and they would actually be eligible because open enrollment ended in January for Marketplace health insurance. But if they were to lose their insurance, that's actually when they would be eligible for an SEP or special enrollment period. So they could apply for Marketplace insurance and actually be eligible for some really great cost sharing reductions or discounts and tax credits to be able to afford health insurance through the Marketplace. So I actually worked with an artist out of Norwood who was just over income for Medicaid, and we were able to get him a plan that was about $10 a month with a very low deductible. That's not going to happen for everybody, but for most people, what we think of as the cost for Marketplace insurance, they've given us some ability to have lower cost insurance at this time. So we can actually walk you through that process. Or if you just wanted to, needed to reapply for Medicaid, let's say you never turned in your stuff for that and realize your Medicaid has been denied, you can give us a call and we can walk you through the process. We are there as a support. We are there to answer any questions and let you know what kind of documents that you'll need. I just know from personal experience that health insurance can be really scary, and we're here to help. So we work out of, and this is just about the open enrollment period. We work out of the downtown, the office that's on 112 Liberty, but we can also do phone calls. We are actually talking with the library about the Cincinnati Public Library about coming up to Madisonville sometime in June to do like a day where we're there on site. But anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know about this new program, but also just like the most important message I guess I have here today is if you have Medicaid, if you have food assistance, make sure to update your information in the, with JFS, with Medicaid. We're trying to make sure that nobody's left behind with this unwinding, if that makes sense. Anyway, just like I said, the process of getting health insurance can be super overwhelming. We just want to make sure that everyone who needs coverage gets the support they need. So here's our website, Get Covered Ohio, and the hotline that you can call to set up an appointment with us or just talk to somebody about your concerns and your questions about Medicaid or marketplace insurance. So that's it. I wanted to keep it as quick as I could, but wanted to let you know that we're there. Yeah. Hi, Anna.
Hi. Yeah, I was just wondering if you can give us something to post on social media about this, maybe even this visual.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will. After we're done, I'll send you an email with some social media graphics and some of our flyers that maybe even, I know that there are some flyers that have been sent to your library to have on hand about our thing, but yeah, I would love to send you anything that I can. And especially about the Medicaid unwinding, we do have one specifically for that, just to say, hey, make sure you update your information. Thank you. Well, that's it. That's all I have today. I do want to say this, that free store food. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say anything about helping somebody get SSI or Social Security. I just got an individual. I helped an individual, 69 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the biggest nut in the social safety net we have, is getting to SSI or Social Security.
So
do you help people get on SSI or disability Social
yeah,
Security?
actually I was going to mention that. So right. So this is my program, but what I was going to say is that we do have several programs at our Customer Connection Center on Liberty, including SOAR and SSI and Social Security. They have open office hours on Mondays. You can call down there and talk to Arnita Miller, and I can put that in the chat. But she is. You can call just our Customer Connection Center in general, and just say that you would like more information about how to sign up for Social Security. But we have, so at our, people often think of Free Store Food Bank as just a food bank, right? But we do have an extensive group of programs. My program, which helps with health insurance. We have a food assistance program. And I'll send you actually the flyer for that, the benefits call line. We have a stabilization program that helps people that not only need just like to get their birth certificate or driver's license to even start their path to finding, other resources, but we have some vocational programs as well, including Cincinnati Cooks, which helps you jumpstart your career into, get training to work in the food service industry, and also Lift the Tri-State, which is a vocational program where you actually learn to work in a warehouse setting and get your forklift license and get credits actually towards a career. But the Social Security program is definitely one of ours, and you can call to our general Free Store Food Bank number, which suddenly I don't have on hand. Sorry, but I will. My number actually. Can I give you my number to call me so I can connect you to a person?
Yeah, go ahead.
My number is 513-357-4810. My name is Sarah Leah Miller. I work with the Get Covered program, but I will get you to who you need to talk to.
Right.
Okay.
We're real fortunate out here in Madisonville. We have meat, and I think they're associated with your with the food bank. Meek, that's our Madisonville.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worked well. So thank you for your. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I really appreciate it. And please reach out if you need anything. So, okay, thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Sarah, for coming by. I'm not seeing any questions, so we'll move to the rec center reps here for an update.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tessa.
Here we go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tess. I'm one of the new community center directors here at Madisonville. And I just wanted to stop in and let you guys know what we're doing this summer. I'm actually in charge of the summer camp this year. And so I wanted to do some things differently as far as like the types of trips we're taking with the kids, and having a plan with the parents to see if they want to help the kids develop some things and take home after summer camp this year. I'm also orchestrating with my other fellow CCDs a boxing program to help stop the violence in the community, something for the kids to do. And I also want to partner with our seniors to see what we can do to bring some programs back here at the rec for the seniors. If you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to call me at my work cell, which is 513-338-3837. I'm here Monday through Friday. Call me or text me anytime if you have any ideas what the center can do with the community. I will be more than happy to assist with that.
And looks like you're good.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right, great. All right, it's a great update. So moving on, some notes I got for everyone. So our board meeting this month, we discussed, what's that transition look like to being primarily in person again? And kind of the consensus is like, how do we make it work so people at home can still fully participate? And that's not necessarily a COVID thing, that's just in general, right? Because if someone's got to stay at home and look after the kids, you still want them to be able to participate, or if they've run home, if they're just running late from work. So that's something that we're going to have to test out, because our big limiting factor is between the community council and the rec center. Kind of, it's easy to hear people online here, but we're having problems with them being able to hear what's going on here. So kind of the focus is try to how can we have that bi-directional connection? And I'll be honest, we're not the only community council that's struggling with this. So it is like a citywide problem, people trying to make sure they can maximize engagement regardless of where you're at. Ms. Pearson, yeah.
It's okay to accommodate people, but it should be mandatory to bring our community council back here officially, where it's we're divided in this community.
Mm-hmm.
The Zoom and this is dividing us. I don't even know who's in my community. When I come to the community council, I meet people, I see people who in my community. But long as they stay hid up on the rock in their homes with their little convenience Zoom, we're not going to come together as a community.
Yeah, and also,
and
I would add, so the concern being that like we can't all gather together, we're not going to all be able to interact with each other and meet each other and actually talk about the things that are important to us. Yeah.
Zoom. So what's the difference now?
And I can.
No excuse for us not to be able to come together and unite together and make this community, build this community up, where we all can enjoy and appreciate this community. But long as we are divided and separated, it would never be a community.
Mm-hmm. And that's the goal of this organization, is to be the voice of the community, and maximizing participation is a huge part of that. 3 years.
Yeah, I just have this meeting going on.
Yeah. My first name is Shannon.
Shannon, last name?
It's Solomon, but
I know it's Solomon.
that's my
That may
main.
not be your name.
Yeah.
May not be his.
Yeah.
Okay. because I'm like, just want to know like everybody is, because I've lived here my whole life, which I moved away. Of course, married, college, kids, grown, I'm back.
My mother grew up in Madison. My grandparents' house was actually on Wetzel.
And the dynamic of our community is changing. You know, we see more Blacks moving in here, which is nothing wrong with it. But we see more of them moving into this neighborhood than someone that look like me, African Americans. You see what I'm saying? So it's changing. So it make me feel like, do they want segregation again in our community? I don't.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does want segregation anyway.
We've been diverse all these years. Why all of a sudden now everybody wants to use Zoom to separate themselves from everybody else? I've been out here all my life and I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
We did.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we have had to use Zoom because obviously the pandemic, but that's why we're approaching the conversation now. You still have to take those things in consideration. I understand, I hear what you're saying, but you still have to take those things in consideration.
I understand mandate has been dropped off a lot of things. People act like they scared. You know, a lot of people out here wearing no mask and they worrying about pandemic. I'm just saying that they should come together and come back and wear the mask in here. They shouldn't stop us wearing the mask.
Well, Gary, you think maybe the idea would be people, I think it's a good idea to have people empty, but maybe the people that are on Zoom can't vote. You know, you gotta act.
That's a good idea.
To vote.
Yeah.
For anything. Now, if somebody wants to be transparent, Zoom, sit at home, but they lose the right to vote. So you should show up for me.
Okay.
You know, but we should always have this option too. So somebody.
Yep.
Now, city cable is something else we do.
Well, city cable is, we can't just, you know, since we can't just have them come out, unfortunately.
All the community councils need to get together and go to the council and say, hey, can we utilize that option of city cable where they can put in this building here for us? I don't know. This is
Yeah. This,
I agree with what you're saying 100%, but I also think it's great to have the Zoom where people go. I think it would take time out of the day to come here, but you have That's my opinion.
Yeah, understand. Yeah. And me personally working had a lot of video meetings and they're just not as useful. So I get it. Yeah. The world. Yeah.
The world has changed. I don't think but still, I think her point is well taken about, you know,
How we gonna become a community and unified when we divided? You know, we see everything around us, they bring it in development, which we don't profit, we don't benefit from it. Profiteers who coming in our community, they want profiteering off our community. We're not. What are we benefiting from this? Other than we got brand new apartment buildings in our neighborhood. What is the community benefiting from it? Nothing. You know, they're not. What are they giving to us to put this in here? Because they use our tax dollars from to build this development, but we're not benefiting from it. Whoever putting it in Madisonville is benefiting from it. I don't see nothing else in our community other than apartment buildings.
We're working on it. We got working with get some nice updates for Bramble Park coming shortly later this year. So nothing prepared, nothing announced yet. But there are some. Well, we don't have plans yet from the city exactly, so we don't want to like necessarily like.
We're gonna have the Stewart Park swimming pool. This area mainly, I'm just saying, this area up here was mainly cold. Now the Bramble area, I don't know, but we really never really used that area. Just saying, so and it just seemed like.
Yeah, because Bramble Park and the rec center are so far apart, they're almost like magnets on the opposite ends, right? So last year the pool was not open because of I think it was mostly not being able to hire enough lifeguards, to be honest with you. So I believe the city is increasing the pay for lifeguards, and so their goal is to reopen the pool this year. But like,
oh, I work in the community and I work with 100 and some clients and teaching keep housing and, you know, and substance abuse and everything. So that's what I do. So I just know that one was open, but they probably had enough.
Yep. So other stuff that's going on that's important. So there was the open house for the parking study. That process is not done yet. So if anybody has any other feedback, you can watch that meeting on our Facebook. And if you have any other feedback that wasn't included, or I can pass that forward to the consultant for you. So feel free to reach out. As a reminder, they will issue an initial report, and there'll be another window for comment before they send a final report to the city of Cincinnati. So long-term, kind of, there's going to be strategies, but nothing immediately is going to happen coming out of that. It's more of like a list of recommendations. We also, this year, is part of the city's biannual budget. So every community council has the ability to send 3 requests as part of the community budget request process. So you kind of want to think, so over the summer, we'll be talking about that. We have to send in our requests by the end of September. But basically it's kind of like one of those things where the city is offering this as like kind of like the things that they've missed, right? So there's no guarantee that anything will be, that we'll get anything. 2 years ago, of our 3 requests, the only thing that we got out of it was a new plan for renovations for Bramble Park, right? So that's something that is commonly approved as more smaller things. So like street rehab or sidewalks or curbs, like that's not part of this. It's more of like kind of the things that would be overlooked that there maybe not be a dedicated program for. Another common thing is like neighborhood plans, right? Where they would have a community engagement process. They'd look at, you know, a plan long forward, like how things are going in the neighborhood, how they should be moving forward. So that's another thing that is commonly asked in that process. But we'll have a survey and we'll have probably a public meeting to talk about it so we can kind of brainstorm and everybody's aware of what we're asking. I did also get contacted by the Madisonville Braves. So that's our local baseball team. And they've got a flyer that's in our notes that I can share that, because there's some games, some red games that if you go to, you'll be able to kind of support them. So that's something to be aware of. And if anybody is interested in volunteering with them, or if there's any other local kids interested in joining the team, please reach out to us. They also have a Facebook page of their own. So by all means, let us know or contact them. I just wanted to help spread the word for them. So a big thing that we got going on that it did organize for the community. So Vice Mayor Kearney, she is the chair of the Healthy Neighborhoods Committee at City Council. And so she has this kind of recurring kind of program with the committee where the whole committee will come to a neighborhood and present and have a meeting to talk about both the challenges and the successes for that neighborhood. So everybody from the community can come out because of course, as we all know, city council meetings are almost always like during the workday when people have stuff going on. You got to go downtown to go to the meeting or just watch it from a distance. So instead, this committee would come to us and they would bring city cable and it's going to be here at the rec center in the gym. That way there's plenty of space for everyone to show up. And if still concerned about COVID, you always space apart. With city cable here, they'll run all of the video feed and everything. So people will be able to watch on city cable and it'll be left there for good. And so that will be May 11th at 6 p.m. That's a Wednesday here at the rec center. And so you'll have her committee, I'll do my best to make sure the other city, because her committee it's 4 people total, not all 9, but I'll definitely try to poke the other city council members to see if they will come out and allows people at direct access to our elected officials. The Healthy Neighborhoods Committee, like their whole goal is to talk about like what's going on in neighborhoods in general. And so that's kind of like that format. People can have that more convenient access where they're coming to us instead of us having to go to them. And they'll also bring a couple of senior staff from the city as well. That way there's more, they can have answer more complex questions directly that maybe they won't be able to answer. We can get a more official answer from them. So moving on to our committees. So on Monday is our Arts, Parks, and Recreation and Education joint meeting. So they just got done with iHeart Madisonville Day planning. They will now be doing planning for Tuesdays in the park, which is our summer series at Bramble Park on every in June and July on Tuesdays. So if you're interested in volunteering to help plan for that, please reach out or stop by their committee meeting. Information's on our website and Facebook page. Our beautification committee is doing a great job with their monthly cleanups. We got a free coffee sponsor. So as I mentioned earlier with Officer Brown, that's every second Saturday meeting at Bramble Park at 9:30. This past month, they distributed mulch at some of the pocket parks and pulled weeds and stuff like that. So just help clean up the neighborhood a little bit. A big thing that you may or may not have noticed at home from communications is our quarterly newsletter. I'll be honest, I haven't gotten mine in the mail. So we sent it out through the post office. That was 2 Mondays ago on, I believe on the 4th. And yeah, so we're trying to figure out what happened there with that misstep. We did drop off a lot of these at public places and businesses. So there's some copies here at the rec center and the library.
And that's how I get them. I get a lot of gifts. But I don't know if they come. But the mail's slow.
Yeah, we got I think, yeah, we got a complaint. I saw a complaint on Nextdoor. Somebody got it on the 12th, you know, and that was over like a week since we had dropped them off. So trying to figure out if that is something that we can change on our end and fix. But I mean,
that's the post office. It's short on workers.
Just like, yeah, short on workers, just like kind of a lot of places at the time. But so yeah, so I mean, going through the post office, and so what we're doing this time around is, so we're sending it to every residential address in Madisonville. The routes aren't like a complete one-to-one, so some routes go into Madisonville and
I guess my question is this. They have to do so much volunteer work. Maybe that would be a good opportunity if high school seniors or whatever go door to door.
yeah, so the question is like getting volunteers from schools that require, yeah.
If there's a big Western Chapel, they have to do so much community service to graduate. That would be a
yeah.
Pass them out door to door and eliminate. Fairfax does that.
So we're using volunteers, even if it's just us. There's over 5,000 addresses in Madisonville. So that's a pretty large number to make sure we get all of them. But yeah, we're looking at like how to do that. There's also the complication is that like federal law bans people from putting something in someone's mailbox. Like, so, and you know, you've got like apartment complexes that we don't have access to. So, but we're like trying to figure out, yeah, if we have other options. And so our next one, we're trying to send out another newsletter in early mid-June to announce, just, keep people updated on what's going on in the neighborhood.
Sure. You have people that trying to cut the grass to the seniors, and they pay them like $30, $40. It's a lot of people going around to the senior and people that live here and try to charge them $100. Like my mother, before I moved back home last year, okay, we got charged her $100.
Are you asking if there's like, is a service
Yeah,
to mow lawn? No, we don't have that as a service.
they're ripping them off.
Right.
They're telling them, 'cause my mother, then we had a dog house, we playing. It looked like $250 for something. I had to go back and redo it. So that'd be a good thing for people who need, that can get paid cash. That's a way of revenue income for some people. That's still in good health, but you got the grass, and then they go to the senior house.
So
That's a way of making money where then they can go and buy things from Walmart or things from Family Dollar. Because when you're on a fixed income of I see my clients $800 a month, and then you still have to pay 30% of that for rent, and then you still have to do your normal wear and tear of life. If you had somebody went around and it's like the ideal of somebody could do that to supplement their income, that'd be a way of them having to actually.
Ms. Pearson, did you have?
Oh, yeah, you have to have a membership in order to retrieve these.
No. The goal of the newsletter is to reach every resident in the neighborhood. And so we have hand delivered some of them because the routes are kind of weird. But it's always, it's been a challenge. Seeing a comment from Charlie Foster. It sounds like he has not gotten one at the Barrington. So that's disappointing to hear, but not necessarily a surprise either.
Got a question.
Mr. Poole, yeah.
What they need to do is fire the clown, last president, that put that clown at the top of the.
Well, yeah, we can control it, but yeah. We're all, yeah. It's quite the mail. Yeah, it's been an issue for a little bit. All right, so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the chair of the Transportation Committee, Kathleen Colley. So we have received a lot of complaints recently from Madison Road by the Episcopal Retirement Services. They approached us asking, there was a previous plan about 5-6 years ago to widen the sidewalk on Madison Road so their residents can be able to walk around the neighborhood better. And so that kind of doing our due diligence, talking to the city about what could be done, kind of snowballed into a larger project. So she has a presentation and a request for the community. Kathleen, are you able to share your screen?
Absolutely. Yeah. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. And everyone can see this?
Yes, we can see it.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So I think, we can all agree that traffic on Madison Road is unsafe for everybody. We've got people traveling at high speeds, some regular intersections that are just confusing or present a lot of conflicts, unsafe crossings for pedestrians. And that really means that it just feels unsafe and unwelcoming and divides the neighborhood north and south halves when it should really bring us together in the neighborhood business district. So in talking to the city's Department of Transportation Engineering, they've suggested that what we probably need at this point is a traffic study to collect data on the existing conditions and identify what are the most appropriate improvements. We know where the most dangerous spots are. We have a good idea of what can help, but we need to take a look at the whole corridor and understand what our best options are. These next couple slides just sort of give you an idea of the severity of the problem. These are crashes in the last 4 years. And you can see that Madison Road is basically a solid red line of crashes. And then this next slide is, sorry, a little harder to see, but the yellow dots are crashes with injuries. And there was one crash at Red Bank with a fatality, unfortunately. So Carrie and I have had some conversations with people at DOTE, and they've helped us define a study area. They suggested that it should be Madison Road between Medpace Way and Camargo Road. They've also suggested, what should this traffic study accomplish, what goes into a basic scope. And they'd want to see hourly traffic counts, turn counts, speed data, and then trip origination and destination data, which helps give us an idea of where are people coming from, where are they going, why are they using Madison Road. The study would then analyze that data to determine what improvements are most appropriate. A consultant would conduct public engagement with us for community feedback to get an idea of what people like, what they don't like. And then they'd provide several design alternatives and, most importantly, cost estimates so we could know what is all this going to cost in the long run. So the ask today is for the Community Council to vote on a request of $45,000 from the cash available in the TIF district to conduct this study. A little bit about the process there. DOTE will create a scope of work and then engage a consultant out of a list of, I think, 7 or 8 firms that they work with regularly who are pre-approved to do this kind of work for the city. That consultant will then work with the Department of City Planning and Engagement and coordinate with us to schedule an initial public engagement meeting. And then they'll continue to hold engagement sessions. I think most recently the city did this in the West End on Lynn Street. And what part of that public engagement looked like was the consultant had several design alternative drawings, like cross sections and then kind of overhead views of what the improved street could look like. And people were able to give feedback, and eventually they narrowed it down. I think at this point they have about 3 alternatives that subsequent public engagement will narrow down to a final alternative that will actually get built. So that's the ask today. Again, this will just be for the study. Long term, it's unlikely that the TIF district would pay for the entire cost of any permanent improvements. There are some federal and state dollars that we could work with the city to go after. There's also SORTA's Transportation Improvement Fund that has the upside of being a little bit quicker to wind up getting that money. We know that this area of Madison Road would be eligible for those dollars, and we think that it would rank pretty highly in that process. So that's just some background on long term when we have an idea of what sort of improvements are best for this area, how that could be funded. But right now we're just looking at the study itself.
All right, I got a hand up from Mr. Capisser at home.
Yeah, is this in?
Okay. Just about every community in Cincinnati is basically looking at this same question. I don't know if anybody saw it last week on Glenway Avenue. A couple tried to get across the street and they stood in the middle of the street for like 3 or 4 minutes, and traffic would not slow down to let them cross even while they were in a crosswalk. Even have a city, there was even a city of Cincinnati police car that drove through the crosswalk at the same time. So every community is looking for this same kind of study.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think we saw earlier last year that there was a ranking amongst the communities in the city of which ones were the city was going to give priority to. And at the time, Madisonville was not a part of that priority and setting aside special funding in order to look at that. So are we doing this because since we're not being ranked as a priority by the city of Cincinnati compared to a lot of the other parts of Cincinnati which have a lot more traffic problems than we are having right now, it is our spending $45,000 to do this study going to make up for the fact that the city's not giving us priority? And secondly, there's already a parking study taking place right now, which I attended that meeting. So the parking study and this study should work together and not independent studies from each other, because whatever happens with parking is going to have an impact on what happens in terms of traffic.
Totally agree that that's gonna, I think just in terms of timing, the parking study is going to inform the traffic study. And the firms who do those two types of studies are gonna have different specialties. So this will likely be a traffic engineering firm who ends up being the consultant selected. So they have, you know, the know-how to do a real traffic study, but I think parking is gonna be part of some of the solutions that they're looking at, specifically on-street parking on Madison Road. So yes, I think the parking study will inform this study. And to answer your first question, yes, the reason that we will be, you know, asking DOT to hire a consultant is that they just don't have the staff time and availability to look at every single neighborhood in the city. And as you mentioned, there are neighborhoods who do have, frankly, you know, a worse traffic problem than Madisonville does. So the staff time has been allocated there.
I guess I would want to see, before we spend $45,000 of our TIF money, are there any other projects that might be competing for our TIF money allocations before we vote for the traffic study?
I don't know of any existing asks to use TIF money that haven't already been funded, if that answers your question. And sorry, Carrie, anyone else interrupt me if that's not correct, but.
It's also not, big picture, it's not that much money compared to how much money the TIF district earns in a given year.
Okay. That's why I just want to make sure that as we're deciding on this, that we're not passing up to anybody else who's looking to utilize TIF money from us.
Yep, I had, Charlie Foster, did you have a comment, a question? We do have a motion on the floor to approve the request.
Basically, my question got asked because it related to how much money was in the TIF pot and how much do we think we're going to get into the TIF pot going forward.
We currently, the update information we have from the city is that the TIF has about $1 million and it earns about that much a year, I believe.
And based upon prior decisions on spending money from the TIF money, I'm not worried about the 45,000, but I want to make sure that it doesn't create a problem for previous agreements for money to be paid out of the TIF fund.
It does not. The city keeps track of any prior obligations for the TIF fund, and the number that they gave us that there's about $1 million available currently takes all that into account.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I can post the city's public website that mentions the TIF. So the TIF district it's complicated. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's an overlay essentially. And actually part of it goes into Oakley and Hyde Park. And so, you know, it's just like the 19th one made. So that's why it's number 19. And it's, you know, referred to as Massville. So, sorry about that. Yeah. So I got a question here in the audience. Ms. Pearson, you have a question?
I couldn't hardly understand what she's saying because
of the speaker.
Yeah, the speaker, you can't hardly hear, but is she requesting for them to modify the sidewalks? What is she requesting?
So we basically, the city suggested that what we should do, the community council should do, is bundle up all of our miscellaneous requests, like how, I mean, the Stewart Avenue intersection's a mess, right? It's always confusing and there's huge backup there. And there's a lot of complaints about the Anderson Place crosswalk. People have always asked for a long time, like, why is there not a left turn signal on Wetzel going on to Madison? So the city is recommended that we officially ask them to hire a consultant to do a traffic study of Madison Road from MedPace to Camargo. That way we can like finally get a resolution to all of these problems. And that will come with public engagement process. So there'll be public meetings that people will be able to attend. And then there will be like multiple options for a redesign. So it won't be like one thing. And we'll be able to kind of steer that process as a community.
Why are people moving in here
I see that there's a question in the chat. That there wasn't any type of traffic survey done before putting in the turn lane at Madison and Stewart or the change of lane at the main intersection of Madison and Wetzel. I'm not 100% sure. I think there may have been a traffic study associated with the Madison and Wetzel project. I can look into that. But then the crux of the question is, when was the last time the study was done? There hasn't been a comprehensive study of the Madison Road corridor in terms of traffic. So this would be the first time, and I think should be really helpful in telling us what we need to do to make it safer for all road users, for pedestrians and cyclists, and for people in cars. Because, you know, as you saw, there are a lot of automobile crashes as well. So it's unsafe all around.
I had a question from Kate here online. First, her right hand was up first. I will. Guys.
Can you guys hear me okay? You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm on the board now. I want to go ahead and let's make a motion to take over $45,000 from the TIF for a traffic study. You know, go ahead and open up for discussion.
Thanks, Kate.
Kathleen, could you hear that better? I couldn't hear it very well here.
I did. She wanted to make a motion to approve the request for $45,000 and open the floor for discussion. I think we actually already had in the chat, Bob Ego put forward a motion and Liz seconded. So if there aren't any other questions in the room or in the chat, I think we can move to a vote.
Just for clarification, you can't see anything in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
So go ahead and start the poll. I have 2 comments or questions here. Mr. Poole, go ahead.
He was saying, you got a parking study, and then you got 45 for a study. And this study thing is, you know what the problem is, you don't need no study. You need to just do the work, waste the money. Your money is out of your tax, property tax that the city and Hamilton County put aside for contractors. This kind of stuff should be coming out of general fund. They just gave the Cincinnati police $250,000 for overtime. Plus they got their regular budget. Then they asked for another $50,000 to let the cops ride around in the car.
So I understand that. The issue is that in the day, over the last 20 years, staff of the city has been so this is the only, if we want to actually resolve all these problems that we have on Madison Road that has been happening for a long time, this is basically the best option that we have.
Well, this tip money here should be going for homeowners that in Madisonville, helping them, not putting it on the streets.
I can't disagree with you, but that's not a legal use of the funds. So
they got it in the thing, don't make it right. That's what I'm saying. But that's $75,000 that you get into a study person. I think I better start a studies company tomorrow. It just.
Yeah, you can, it's an open,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bid
Because
process,
it's
yeah.
getting- The tip money is money that should have been going to the homeowner, just like the redlining and the banks and all that. So, but.
The other question that we have here. Yeah. Yeah, Ann Bolin had a question. Madisonville has $1 million in our TIFs. Yes.
Did they already get a half $1 million of it, going towards the parking lots? Didn't that?
No,
I thought that TIF money,
no, there's no TIF money used on a parking lot.
not,
No.
okay. All right, I know somebody was requesting to get TIF money.
The city council did not approve that request.
Okay. Was there anything, any other things that's important other than the sidewalk in our community that needs to be addressed?
The TIF district money has to be spent on a public thing.
The shootings almost every night. Gun violence. Yeah, no, they said shootings and anything other that can go on the table.
Anna, you can go ahead.
Yeah, hey Carrie, so the motion for this by Bob and Liz was in the Q&A, so it wasn't visible. So I don't know if Bob and Liz can come off mute and we can get them to verbally put forward the motion and second it, just so it's all official. Otherwise,
so-
we can use Kate's and I can second her, whatever works.
Yeah. So Kate, Bob Igo had the motion. Kate Botos had the motion as well. So, and then Liz Igo also seconded it as well in the Q&A.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'll answer this live. Bob and Liz, I go in the chat said it's not safe for Parker students to cross Madison Road. This study can remedy that. And yeah, that's one of the big issues that we are hoping to address here. For years, the community council has been working with the city to try and look at a solution for that crosswalk. And it's really complicated because it's at the crest of a hill. There's some drainage and I think sewer access issues that make it really difficult to move the crosswalk, in addition to the fact that it ends currently in the driveway to St. Paul Lutheran Village. So it's big things like that and little things scattered through the corridor that we're hoping to address here.
Can I ask another question? Okay, my other question would be, if we get this done, what is the time frame projected that it would take, that if we authorize once we authorize the 45,000, what is the time frame for this to take place? Because once the study is done and is presented to the city, we're still at the city's mercy as to when they would utilize the study to make changes in the communities. We're still at the city's mercy from that standpoint. Is that correct?
That is correct. I mentioned the SORTA Transportation Infrastructure Fund, and that might be a good source of funds for some of the projects that we're hoping will come out of this study. And that's their timeline is closer to a year from application to when the funds are actually released to start doing work. And we have talked to the city, made it clear that, that I believe they talked about study data being collected starting over the summer. And so with the studies able to wrap up in this calendar year, I think we would be in a good place to work with the city to apply for that sort of infrastructure fund in 2023. But yeah, so of course we will need to find the money and work with the city for the actual improvements down the road.
You got in that comment that it is from Ann Bolin that it's not safe for St. Paul Village residents to cross Madison to catch a bus. So at this point, the poll has been live on Zoom, so they've been able to vote. We need to vote in person and this is a neighborhood-wide vote. Oh, Kate Botos, can we request this through the CBA process or no? Probably not, to be honest with you, probably not. There's a pretty low success rate for the CBR process, I'll be honest with you. And in our meetings with the city, they made it clear that they would not commit to when they would be able to get around to this if they wanted to do it internally. So I'm gonna go ahead and call a vote here in person. I cannot vote. I have 5 residents here. Are there any yeses?
Yes.
We have 1. Are there any noes? That's a no? Okay.
No.
To apply for it, yeah. So Anna, can you make sure this is visible?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so.
Does she live in the community?
Yes. Yes. So adding up the tally. Adding up the tally for between the panelists, people in the room and on Zoom, we had 3 panelists vote, 3 people in person vote, and 9 attendees on Zoom vote. That is 12 yeses and 3 noes. So the motion carries.
You know, it's always going to be a disadvantage for the people living it because we not get the information out to the people about these votes. It's totally unfair. No one is being made aware of any of these votes that we had to vote on.
I mean, we've sent multiple emails. We try to communicate through social media.
Email. So.
Well, we can't physically contact every 10,000 person in the neighborhood.
Well, like you said, you want to send these out. Is it been put in a newspaper and let everybody know you're going to vote on this at the next meeting? No one is making nobody aware of that.
That wasn't.
To me, these are secret requests that's been made without a lot of people not being made cognizant of this. It's not fair for the people who live in this neighborhood.
I think eventually we will get back and have meetings here.
But it's not doing nobody no good now. Is that they only got a small select of people on Zoom.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't do Zoom.
That's why everybody's welcome to always come here, and it's scheduled every 3rd Thursday.
They don't know anything about, when I run into them, I tell them. It's not been notification, not been put out. What's going on? Everybody want to be so cliquish in this neighborhood. That's what it is. It's cliquish.
Amanda, go ahead. Listen online.
I'd just like to make a motion that we end the conversation and move on with the agenda.
Okay. Yeah, we can move on. We have, I know the business chamber wasn't able to make it, but M. Kirk had a presentation that they also wanted to give. Naima, can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't know I was coming up. Let me go sit back down at my seat. Give me 1 second. Okie dokie, now let me. Okay, I can't see myself, but I can see you. So Carrie, are we at the part on the agenda about the ask for the letter of support? Is that what you want now? Or are you gonna? Okay. So MCIRC is here to ask Community Council for a letter of support for its application for a grant, Neighborhood Business District Improvement Program, known as NBDIP for short. That funding comes through, it is funneled through the Cincinnati Neighborhood Business Districts United, CNBDU, of which Madisonville is a part and a member. The application, MCIRC has submitted a pre-application for $150,000 grant for pedestrian safety improvements. Members of our board have been meeting with MCC's Transportation Committee and working together to identify priority projects before the April 29th application deadline. And so far, some of those projects include bump outs at the following 3 intersections. So at Prentice, and I can go back over this if anyone has questions. And just to let everyone know, none of these suggestions are set in stone. They will be subject to an approval process, and I'll go through that in a second here. But some of the intersections identified have been Wetzel at Prentice, the west side only due to a fire truck turn, Wetzel at Peabody. There are unmarked crosswalks there with low visibility due to on-street parking, and Wetzel at Sierra. So bump outs at those intersections potentially. And then speed cushions at 3 potential sites: Wetzel south of Madison, Wetzel north of Madison, and Madison west of Wetzel. We believe that DOTE, that's Department of Transportation and Engineering, that's a city department, will fund another speed cushion east of Wetzel based on the survey that the community completed earlier this year. These are all merely recommendations to DOTE. If the funding is awarded, DOTE will evaluate the best options based on the funding available and make their recommendations, because I think DOTE would also contribute funding to any approved projects. So we are currently waiting on cost estimates for these items, and we'll submit the cost estimates along with our application on April 29th. And we've also presented and asked Madisonville Business Chamber for a letter of support, and we're waiting to hear back from them. We also did a presentation there. Just wanted to note that the new crosswalk at Madison and Blasey that's going to be installed this spring is the result of an earlier NBDIP grant, and Carrie Devery did a lot of work on that in identifying that area and really getting that project through, also from funds from the Vision Zero program. So if we are awarded funding, we will be notified in June. And I'd be happy to take any questions, but what we're here for is to ask for a letter of support from Madisonville Community Council for our application. I think I covered everything.
Yep, I think you're good. I have to type that up real quick for people on Zoom.
Is there a match on that, Terry?
There is no, is there a match is the question? There's no match for this program. It's an open grant for, yep, all the business districts in the neighborhood. All right, there was a motion by Bob Igo to approve, which was seconded by Liz Igo. Okay. Okay, the poll should be up if Hopefully it's visible. There's I guess a question. Please clarify, as business chamber was not asked for a letter of support. I guess that's
Is Kate asking me to clarify whether they were or not?
yeah, like how does that process work when it comes to letter of support, since you have multiple community organizations? Maybe walk us through that a little bit.
So what for an application like this, typically the neighborhood organizations, the other organizations working within the community, in our case, Madisonville Business Chamber and Madisonville Community Council, are typically two organizations that we would go to for letters of support for this application. And we might even, I think, based on the wording on the application, even go to individual businesses if we, could, that might be impacted by the request. So that might, if we're able to do that before the deadline, we'll try to do that too. But we did a presentation. Our interim director attended a business chamber meeting to ask for a letter of support for the application. Did that answer your question, Carrie? Did that address it or explain it? Anyone else have any other questions or answer Kate's question? She said, it sounded like she said they have not been asked.
Okay, she said yes.
Oh, okay.
It looks like you have a hand up, Carrie. It's been up for a
Yep, I have a question here in person real quick. Go ahead.
How does this request relate to the funding that was just approved for the traffic study on Madison Road, so that you don't have?
Yeah, so the question is, how does this work with the previous request for the traffic study on Madison Road? And there's two options here that could happen. If this funding is approved by CNBU and is awarded, then the traffic study for Madison Road would take that into effect, right? Like they would be able to see that that's coming and add that to their plan. There's also the possible option that if the traffic study recommends not to do this, MCIRC has the ability to ask for like an amendment, right? And be able to ask to say that, okay, we can't use this. Can we use this for a different traffic calming activity in the business district?
Are you saying that you have to have the results from the traffic study on the road to determine whether to proceed with this second request?
No. No, we can I answer that, Carrie? We don't. Yeah, sorry, I think I heard the question. No, we don't need the results from the traffic study. We're pulling from a different pool of money here for this ask, for this grant. So the traffic study would be supported by TIF money. We're pulling from the Neighborhood Business District Improvement Plan Program, and any neighborhood is eligible to apply for this funding for pedestrian safety, for traffic calming. And so MCIRC identified that.
That's not my question. I'm not concerned about the funding aspect. I'm just asking, the study doesn't negate the work that this lady is proposing.
Right, how do they not conflict?
Exactly.
How's there not any conflict? Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking that they might complement each other ultimately. I'm thinking. So I'm assuming the traffic study would identify some, if the outcome is that some measures are needed to calm traffic in this area, that the study would also make suggestions for how to calm traffic, how to improve pedestrian safety, and perhaps some of the the things that we identify in our application, because those are going to have to be approved by DOTE anyway. And Carrie may, be more of an expert on this than I am, but it's going to have to be approved by DOTE, whatever we suggest or recommend. So I assume if they approve it, it's going to be something that is in line with what they would find to be a workable solution. But I think it would potentially complement it. So maybe this traffic study will suggest some things that we're already asking for this funding for. And as Carrie mentioned, if maybe it suggests something different or identifies a different priority or a different traffic calming or pedestrian safety measure, then as Carrie mentioned, we could potentially ask to amend the request.
So bottom line, nothing happens with the results of the traffic study.
Yeah, probably, but most likely. So if they get awarded these funds, it would be in June is the timeline. And then the funds will stay with the city and the city will roll it into their next bid, which won't be until next winter. Like in,
You hope to secure the contract for the traffic study on Madison Road by what time?
so the traffic study should be done this year is what the impression that we are given by the city. So yeah, so most likely the traffic study will happen before the city sends the work out for this out to bid. And so that gives the two options of either the person doing the traffic study will know that this has been approved and coming, and they can either say that's a great idea, you should do that. Or if they say maybe you should do something else instead, then MCIRC will just make an amendment to their approved grant. And then they can redirect it towards a different project within that scope. Okay. Okay, understood. Message from Mr. Capisser is that as procedure, once discussion has been open, voting cannot take place until the person closes the discussion. Okay. Mr. Capisser, if you're making a motion to restart the vote, that's a potential option. Let me know if you want to clean up that procedure. Do have a hand from Sarah Sheets on Zoom.
Hi, Carrie, thanks. I just wanted to say one thing to clarify. This grant opportunity is available once a year. So the thinking was apply now. We've heard that there is extra funding available for right-of-way projects. And so the opportunity is ripe for an application like this. And because it takes so long to get projects underway with the city and the law department and contracts and procurement and all that stuff, just supporting what you just said, if we were awarded this funding in June, it wouldn't be available for several months later and would complement the traffic study. So just wanted to say that, the reason we wanted to go after this funding now is because it's available now. And we know at some point, there will be projects to fund addressing pedestrian safety in Madisonville.
Got a comment. I think it's worth noting that many of the location has proposed are on Wetzel, which is outside the scope of the traffic study. All right, so let's see. I'll in the poll for people online and vote in person. In person, are there any, by show of hands, are there any yeses? Yes. Yes, to support the letter of support. Yeah. Are there any no's? Okay. We have one yes and one no in person. From the panelists, I have 6 yeses, and from Zoom attendees, there are 9 yeses and 1 no. So that is 6, 7, 16. Go
Can I
ahead.
say something? Now, both of them is dealing with traffic.
Yes.
We already requested for $45,000 to do a study on what is.
On Madison Road.
Yes. Why can't all that be encompassed in the same thing? In the 45,000? Why did she got to get a grant to do her traffic study? Why can't all of it be encompassed?
Well, it's a separate program. Like it's so MKIRK, what they're asking for, there is a grant program to support neighborhood business districts. And so the Madison Road traffic study is limited in a different way because money from the TIF can only be spent to support the TIF.
Traffic is traffic, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's complicated rules on how money can be spent and who can request for the money, if that makes.
And also, I was going to add for Ms. Pearson, this money is not for a study. This grant would be to actually implement the measures, like potentially to pay for the bump out or to pay for the speed. I just forgot the name of them. They're not humps, the speed cushions. So yeah, so this money is to actually, to pay for the project, to get the project done, not for a study.
What's the difference between the speed bump and the cushion?
So speed.
I had to look that up too. That's a good question. I Googled it, but Carrie has looked at it before, so he can answer the question.
So for example, here, since we're in the rec center, over here on this section of Chandler, there's in Anderson Place, there's speed humps, right? And that's like the whole width of the road. A speed cushion is essentially the same thing, except it's not continuous and there's a gap put in place so that it won't slow down an emergency vehicle. So an emergency, like an ambulance has such a wide base, unlike a typical car, they'll be able to essentially straddle the speed hump and they won't be slowed down. So in a very busy place, in a main road like Madison or Wetzel, especially with the fire department on Wetzel themselves, historically, transportation people, they don't want to, they do the math, they don't want to slow down a fire truck. And so this was invented or designed so that a typical person is going to hit the speed hump, but the fire truck or the ambulance won't.
I thought about putting rumble strips along Madison Road before you get that railroad bridge.
For a rumble strip for the Madison Road in front of the bridge.
Before you get to the 12-foot strip.
I will say that we were told that the city is planning on adding more signs and lightage but they don't typically do rumble strips for whatever reason. I guess it's just not I know other communities have asked and I know transportation has said no. Okay, appreciate it. Are there any general comments from the body at this time?
Are they gonna have the cushion and the speed bumps together? Or are they just gonna be one or the other?
Speed cushion or speed hump, yeah, it's like one or the other. Okay. So a higher capacity main route for emergency vehicles will have the speed cushion. A more residential side street would have a speed hump. And on that topic, if you want speed humps on your street, there is a petition process where at least 50% of the people on the street have to sign to agree to
they
ask.
don't want to slow the ambulance or whatever down, so they can't be slowed down. Why put it down in it? Why put it there? Why put it there? You're trying to prevent them from not being able to speed where they need to. Why put it down there?
Well, no, that's the point, is the speed cushion is there so that an ambulance can still do the majority of its route unimpeded, right? Because that main route, like a Madison, a Wetzel, a Plainville. Like they're not gonna put a Bramble, they're not gonna put speed humps on there because they know that an ambulance or a fire truck, that's a main route they're gonna use for a lot of their calls. But a speed hump on a side street like Anderson right now, you know, they don't necessarily go down there very often, very frequently. So the amount of times it's not really going to slow them down that much comparatively. I guess there's like some math they do.
You guys heard that to the people's pantry or
Oh, yeah. Naima, there was a pantry set up in front of the former location for Plant Cincinnati and it went away. Mike Ty was just curious if MKirk would interested in having one in front of the Mets house, and he even volunteered to help build it and maintain it.
Okay. I mean, I can't answer right now, but I'll check internally on that, and I don't see why not. I think I know which. I remember that pantry. It's like where people can donate. You mean like it's one of those pantries where you can leave things in the pantry and people can come take them as they need them?
It was an old newspaper rack.
Yeah.
One that was sold, that's no longer there. And these people, I believe, are people probably are homeless, people living under bridges, people that don't want maybe go to meet and they don't want to put their name for personal reasons. So it's been utilized a lot. I'll make it pop. I'm pretty good to it. I'll put all the materials.
Well, I'll give her your number. Yeah. Yeah. All right. If no other comments at this time, we can call this meeting to adjourn. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah, announcement. Yeah, definitely.
My name is Angela Pearson. Those who don't know me, I've been here all my life. I've been giving block parties up on Chandler for 19 years. I haven't done it in 6 years. So I want to make an announcement that we are going to bring back the Chandler block party for the community. So if anybody interested in, my number is 513-254-7270. And they're always really nice. And it's really we have it set up for adults. So everybody can come out there and meet each other in the community and know their neighbors and the residents in the community. So again, my name is Angela Pearson. My phone number is 513-254-7270.
That block party is legendary.
Yeah, that was Angela Pearson. Yeah. Okay. All right, so if that is that, we will adjourn for tonight and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to.
Hey, Carrie, before you leave, can you also recopy in the chat for me the wording of the first vote? Just so I can capture how we had it worded, the 45,000. Or make it appear.
1 second, yeah.
Yeah.
In the valley.
Hey, so what's going on?
The houses on the top. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just saying, could you copy again the phrasing of the first vote into the chat? Or pull up the results again so I can copy it again?
What are these? They said they forced them out of there to put that on.
You see it now?
MRVD.
Okay, cool.
They take that money that goes into that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good one.